Hi, welcome in. My name is Paimon Tuchi. This is the Paimon Tuchi report, and we are reporting on the Russian and Afghan military technical cooperation that has recently happened. And actually, May 27th, 2026, just about a month ago. And I just want to talk about some of the significance, some of the history behind it. They've it's happened in the past. This has happened in the past before, although it wasn't with the Islamic Society of Afghanistan. It wasn't like the conservatives of Afghanistan, which is the current government. It wasn't these guys that made the previous military pact with the Soviets. That was the progressive government who got kicked out because of their super modernizing tactics, too much, too fast, kind of a thing. Um, so it's a little bit different. There's some differences, but basically, yeah, we're back at it again because last time it was also the border with Pakistan closed because of the whole Pakistan establishing Pakistan there and taking away the land because they literally gave a lot of Afghanistan's land to Pakistan. They closed that border and there was a lot of tension there. So the Afghan government at the time went up north and started asking for help from the Soviets. They were in a position, but I'm going to talk also about some of the. Let's see. So this is them in 1988, 1989, leaving Afghanistan, right? This is them coming back. This is the Russians coming back. This is the Russians. They say it's different people, different, but this is this is the son of the Taliban founder. The founder of the Taliban, Mullah Omar, and this is Mullah Yaqub Omar, I guess, defense minister. Mullah Yaqub, and he is shaking hands with Zamir Kabulov. He's the uh, he's the Russian envoy to Afghanistan, and yeah, I mean, it. I think this is gonna help in a lot of ways, and there's some drawbacks. Of course, there's some like, like well, people are like just thinking and they're pondering and they're skeptical. But I would like to say that they're here. Now let's talk about what Afghanistan could actually gain from this because this is the part that matters for everyday Afghans. The Taliban have identified key military weaknesses. Air defense is number one. Pakistan recently um, airstriked Afghanistan, and the Taliban couldn't do anything about it. Man, they were not. They were like very defenseless. Honestly, they couldn't do anything about it. So what did they do? Um, they sent soldiers to the border with their Humvees. But there's planes coming. So they basically what I'm trying to say here, guys. I'm not trying to make fun of the Taliban. It's not what I'm trying to do. I understand that their capabilities are pretty challenged at the moment because of all the history, all the war, and they're poor guys. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of support. It's just a organic. These guys are farmers. Okay, these guys right here, they've been fighting for decades, but they're basically just farmers who stood up against corruption, tyranny, raping of the Afghan women, drugs, and just complete just chaos. They stood up against that and fought against that, um, and they won. And they have the country right now. They have the political structure settled, and they're looking for some help. They're like, hey, you know what? We can't do this by ourselves. We have all this U.S. stockpile and we also have a lot of Soviet era stockpile. We have all this equipment, but we don't know what to do with it. So this agreement comes in. The agreement is basically that the Russians are going to be able to be the maintenance guys, the service and repair guys, the oil change of the attack helicopter guys, and they're going to be able to help. So, anyways, the identified key military weaknesses, the air defense being one of them, drones is another one, um, surveillance, stuff like that. So, and there's equipment that's already also there. So, these are some of the things that are going to be developing from this. People, Afghans are going to be gaining from this is air defenses, um, drones, surveillance, and then also the equipment that's already there from the Soviet era stockpiles, Russian made equipment, and then the U.S. stockpiles that was recently there as well. Um, so that dramatically enhances Afghanistan's defense capabilities, and it does help the everyday Afghan as well. You know why? Because you're not going to be bombed. So deterrence is a big thing in this world, in the world of politics, and people know that you could defend yourself. They're not going to attack you that easy. They're going to be like, oh yeah, hold up, we can't attack them. They're just going to bomb the crap out of us. They're going to do this and that. Let's just try to do this diplomatically. Let's try to figure this out some other way. That's what Afghanistan is building to. People are not going to be able to mess with Afghanistan, but it is very early in this cooperation with the Russians. But people are saying even the special envoy, Russian envoy, Vladimir Kabulov, said that this is pretty much just laying the framework for future cooperations. You know what that means? Arms sales, air defense capabilities, drones, tanks, helicopters, just all that good stuff. And they're moving pretty fast. In 2025, the Russians recognized officially the Taliban government as the official legitimate government of the world of Afghanistan. And then in 2026, just last month, they did a whole military cooperation like pact agreement with the Taliban, to say, hey, our recognition really means something. It's very beneficial that we recognize. So, and then the U.S. is there like, hold on a minute. You're telling me that the Russians are going to move into Afghanistan? We got to change our policies. Something like that, right? The Russians, the Americans, and then the Pakistanis, oh, beta, we are screwed, beta. We're going to get so screwed, beta. Literally. The Chinese are just chilling there, like, we gotta just watch from far away, just surveil, just see what happens here. They always just look. Iran is like, Moscow, come on, man, what the hell's going on here, man? Yeah, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, those guys, they don't care. They're part of the Russian empire. The Tajikistan, they're not independent sovereign countries. I'm sorry, but no, they're super Russianed out there. Yeah, I do want to talk about the reason why the Russians are in cahoots with the Afghan government right now. Like, why are they doing this? What's in it for the Russians? Well, ISIS K, I think it was like ISIS, Islamic State, Khorasan province, the ISIS K. Those guys went into Russia in the concert hall. It was called the Crocus City Hall. It was a big old concert. They killed like 140 people. Horrible massacre, man. It was horrible. ISIS. So the reason the Russians are doing this is because the Russians and Afghans have a common enemy, the ISIS. And of course, they want to expand their influence in the region, blah blah blah. But ISIS and Afghanistan is like a little security buffer for Russia. To to defend against ISIS. So of course they're gonna, help them with drone capabilities and surveillance and stuff like that. How else are they gonna find these guys? You think there's attack helicopters are gonna do anything for surveillance capabilities? That's just not gonna happen. Of course they're gonna start getting into drones, and I'm pretty sure the Afghans are gonna the Afghan Taliban are gonna look into Iran as well for military cooperations and drone capabilities. The Iranians are very advanced in that as well. They got this whole jellyfish formation drone system thing going on that took down the F-35 or something like that, right? Or they took down some crazy stuff. I don't think it was the drones that took down I think it was a complete missile system that used some crazy radars and some crazy tracking capabilities. We don't even know how they did that. Iran. What the hell, bro? How did you do that, bro? What the hell? Yeah, you get... All right. Anyways. That was President of Iran, Pezhensky. I think that's his name. So he's got some kind of Russian sounding last name. So anyways, that's why the Russians are working with the Afghans, because they have a common enemy, man. ISIS. This is them leaving on the bridge here. That bridge is a Russian and Afghanistan friendly bridge that they built so they could they could connect. But that's them leaving, man. And then they're back. They're back. They're back. I don't know. I think it's just completely different though. It's very different. This is 1968. Them, signing military cooperations. This is this guy here, the bald guy. That's Mohammed Zahir Khan, king of Afghanistan at that time, with his interpreter in the middle, and that's Tito. Tito to the left. I don't know who the hell Tito is, but seems like some kind of Russian guy. Anyways, that's them signing the military pact, and then there was a big old war, and then they left, and then now we're back here.
در سفر به مسکو با سرگئی شویگو منشی شورای امنیتی ملی روسیه دیدار و گفتگو کرده است. وزارت دفاع با نشر اعلامیه‌ای گفته است که این دیدار در حاشیه کنفرانس بین‌المللی امنیتی مسکو انجام شده است. رسانه‌های روسی گزارش دادند که در این دیدار دو طرف توافقنامه همکاری نظامی امضا کردند.
روسیه فدراسیون څخه مننه کوم چې د امنیت نړیوال فورم په څیر مهمو غونډو کې د شرکت لپاره
بیخی یک جوان بچه است. زیاد کلان نیست. 30 ساله است، 32 ساله است. زیاد جوان است. He's like my age. سن سال ما است. بسیار آدم خوب است. این بچه خوب است. این بچه خراب نیست. این کسی رو نکشته. He's the defense minister of Afghanistan, of course. Maybe people think that he just, carries a gun around and just pops a few caps at people. No, that's not what happened. This guy is a good guy. این بچه خوب است. پدرش خدا بیامرزش مرد. And he's taken on a lot of responsibility. I just can't imagine being the defense minister of a country that just came out of civil war and then 20 years of war with the US and NATO, 50 countries. And then you're put into this position. Your dad was like the leader of the political movement, the Taliban, and then you're put into this position at such a young age. When he first started this position, he looked a little bit, unsettled. He looked very shell shocked in a little bit.
بلنه وکړي همداسې د روسیې فدراسیون لومړی هیواد دی چې د افغانستان اسلامي امارت یې په رسمیت وپېژني. روسیه په سیمه او نړۍ کې یو مهم هیواد دی. موږ ته له روسیې فدراسیون سره تعامل او روابط ځانګړی اهمیت لري.
وزیر دفاع افغانستان اعلام کرده است که تعامل با روسیه برای افغانستان اهمیت ویژه دارد و باید روند گسترش روابط میان دو طرف ادامه یابد. محمد یعقوب مجاهد از روسیه به خاطر بررسمی شناختن امارت اسلامی افغانستان ابراز قدردانی کرد.
40 کاله افغانستان د امریکایانو لخوا اشغال شوی و او د افغانستان وضعیت د هغوی د اشغال په نتیجه کې نور هم خراب شو. له بعد مرغه افغانستان اوس هم د یو شمېر اقتصادي او بشري ستونزو سره مخامخ دی او لا هم د تیرو شلو کلونو د جګړو او ځینو بندیزونو د جګړو په نتیجه کې هغه مشکلات او ستونزې حل شوي نه دي، بلکې اوس هم تر بندیزونو لاندې دي.
در مقابل سرگئی شویگو نیز در این دیدار اظهار داشت کشورهای غربی باید دارایی‌های مسدود شده افغانستان را آزاد کنند و مسئولیت حضور 20 ساله خود در این کشور را بپذیرند.
ما متقاعد شده ایم که کشورهای غربی باید دارایی‌های مسدود شده افغانستان را آزاد کنند.
They're talking about the foreign frozen assets of Afghans by the foreigners like the U.S. They're advocating for the release of
مسئولیت کامل خود را در قبال حضور 20 ساله‌شان در افغانستان به طور کامل بپذیرند و تمام بار بازسازی پس از جنگ این کشور را بر عهده بگیرند.
They're saying that the U.S. should, take full responsibility for the 20-year war, the destruction, and then the post-war reconstruction. They should shoulder the full burden of the country's post-war reconstruction.
حال وزیر دفاع ملی کشور می‌افزاید که افغانستان پس از 2 دهه حضور نظامی امریکا هنوز با برخی مشکلات اقتصادی و بشری روبرو است، اما امارت اسلامی توانسته در مدت کوتاه دستاوردهای مهمی در بخش‌های مختلف داشته باشد.
So he's saying that although they've had to face this huge economic issue in the country, they've made important achievements in various sectors in a short period of time. The Islamic Emirate has been able to do that. Overall, the country is slowly but surely just getting better, man. I believe so. Just a flyover of the country, you could tell from before and now. It just looks colorful. I don't know what to say, man. I grew up in Afghanistan for a little bit. I've seen it in the war. During the war, it just always looked dusty and, no life, But alhamdulillah, shukr khudaya, حالا که سعی میکنم افغانستان یک ذره بهتر شده، یک ذره جور شده، چهرهش یک ذره رنگ داره، نام خدا. Anyways, that was the signing of the military pact, right? But we have I want to say talk about the regional implications of this, right? There are some things that basically affects the ripples across the entire region. It's not just how affecting Afghanistan. Pakistan is the most immediate loser here. Okay, they've long seen Afghanistan within their sphere of influence. They backed the Taliban in the 1990s. They conducted airstrikes in Afghanistan on multiple occasions. They see themselves as a power broker in Kabul for some reason. I don't even know who these guys are. Who are these Pakistanis, man? Now Afghanistan is signaling that they have alternatives. Hey, watch out. But the question is, how will Pakistan respond? That's pretty much will they escalate their attack, or will they pivot closer to China? Will they try to outmaneuver Russia and deepen their ties with the Taliban? Oh, I'm sorry, I airstriked your people, your country, and we killed civilians. Let's forget about all that. Let's just get better. Let's me and you just hash it out. Maybe just talk, open up borders, trade. No, definitely not. That's not happening. Pakistan is forever an enemy of Afghanistan. There's nothing that's going to happen. No talks with Kazakhstan facilitating talks with Pakistan is going to help out. None of that. China is watching closely as always. They just like to watch. India has India India has historically been wary of Pakistan. They love this. They're like, you know, they've always had good relationships with the Taliban since they took power. India's embassy in Kabul opened up right away. Um, so they see the Taliban as a useful counterweight to Pakistan. They hate Pakistan. They may welcome any development that reduces Pakistan's leverage, even if they mean closer Russian Taliban ties. Um, they haven't the India's Ministry of External Affairs hasn't officially commented on this, but I know they're like, yes, Bhatti, screw Pakistan, get out of Afghanistan, #1. Yes, so and then Iran is also concerned, and they're talking to the Russians in Moscow, and they want some assurances from Moscow that this is not going to be some kind of threat, or they're trying to find out. Hey, but no, Afghanistan and Iran have good relations, man. They're brotherly countries, unlike Pakistan. Pakistan is shaking their boots right now. The wild card here is the U.S., which is not on this map. Of course, they're not. They're like across the world, but of course they're always, they're always freaking drinking from our bowl of water. The Trump and the Biden administration officially opposed recognizing the Taliban, but this agreement directly challenges that policy. Of course, they're like, hold on a minute, man. The Russians are in cahoots with the Afghans again. We're gonna have to recognize them, boys. You know what that means? Send them $100 billion and tell them I'm sorry. We're gonna rebuild the country. And if you want, we could oil up that equipment that we gave you. We left behind. But I would like to say that the U.S. Well, actually, I take that back. I'm not gonna say it. Anyways. The whole thing is kind of ironic, man. The Taliban rose to power in the 1990s on a wave of anti-Soviet movement. Their fighters were the Mujahideen, the veteran of the Afghan resistance, against the Soviet Union. Mullah Omar, the founder of the movement, fought against the Soviets himself. Now his son is shaking hands with the Russian security chief. That is insane. We're repeating, it's in circles, it's going in circles, but there are a couple of different things that's going on. So, first, geopolitical context in the 70s. So there's a couple of different things why it's different. Okay, let me just go into that real quick. Soviet Union was a superpower locked in the Cold War with the United States. Today, Russia is a regional power constrained by sanctions and bogged down in Ukraine. They don't have the capacity for a massive troop deployment in Afghanistan. The nature of the relationship with the Russians and the Afghans versus the Soviets and the Afghans back then. The Soviet-Afghan relationship was a client-state relationship. That's completely different than the Russians and the Afghans now. The Soviet Union was the primary sponsor of the Afghan communist regime back then. Today, this is a pragmatic, interest-based relationship, partnership, I would like to say. The Taliban and the Russians don't share any ideology. They share interests. They are both anti-ISIS, anti-Western, and a desire to keep Pakistan from dominating the region. It's like a convenience thing, you know. You rub my back, I rub your back. You know, I scratch, you scratch, kind of a thing. The third is that the communist regime that the Russia supported in the Soviets supported in the 1970s was forcing rapid change, radical reforms on deeply conservative society, mainly like the Pashtuns, the Islamic society there, the conservative, the traditional and culturally baked people in Afghanistan. They alienated the population, basically. The communist regime in Afghanistan at that time, the 1970s, they faced a massive backlash. But this time, the Taliban government today is also deeply unpopular, but they've consolidated their power. They're not trying to impose Marxism on anyone. They're ruling through a blend of religious authoritarianism and pragmatism. I think that's how you say that. And here's the irony: the Taliban, a movement born from the wreckage of the Soviet-Afghan War, is now partnering with their former occupiers. This tells you everything we need to know about Afghan politics. It's not a lot about ideology, which makes me think that we have a chance with our political reform, the peaceful engagement political strategy. So this here is anti-Afghan ideology. So this is not ideal. This is not what the Afghans' ideology is, their philosophy. This is not. But this is practical, right? They have to do this. So what this means is that the Taliban could change. They could change their policies and reform with their views on Afghan women. That's a very touchy subject. But I believe that this shows that the Taliban government, the Afghan government right now, the right-wing Islamic society, the conservative group, full of traditions and cultural, they have the whole Pashtunwali thing going on. Fully respect it. Totally respect it. I respect it. They're able to change their mind, change policy, reform policy, which is amazing because that gives me hope. That gives the people of Afghanistan hope. Like, hey, you know what? Afghanistan could maybe change for the better, so people could have better lives. Everyone in Afghanistan could be happy, including the women and the girls and the kids and all. Everybody will get along. But I have a plan for that, and I think that's another show. But for the time being, guys, my name is Paimon. My name is Paimon Touhi, and this is the Paimon Touhi Report. I'm signing off. You guys have a great night. You guys take care. Anything else that comes to mind, drop it down in the comments. Subscribe.